and welcome back to my channel where I'm going to cover the Rogue's Swashbuckler class specialization from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, providing a brief description of the subclass as well as explain and set up the various features gained. Swashbucklers are the quintessential duelists of the D&D genre in that they are built to get into and out of fights with ease and grace. As a result, many a pirate can be found using this as their class specialization due to their quick footwork, overpowering attacks, and their means to escape quickly if they need to. If, for example, Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean series was a character within the D&D world, then this would be the class he'd fall under, and give you an idea of the style of combat that one might expect when taking this class. Rogues, however, choose their class specialization at level 3, so you will still have time to consider what subclass you wish to take before you get to level 3. However, let's level our Swashbuckler up and go ahead and select the Swashbuckler specialization so that we can take a look at our features. The first feature your character will gain is called Fancy Footwork, and it allows your character to reduce the chances of an incoming attack of opportunity if you choose to move them about the battlefield a little bit more than usual. And it's this feature that really gives the class its grace and movement while in combat. However, there are two requirements that come into play. The first is that the attack your character makes against the target must be a melee-based attack, while the second is that your character's attack must actually hit and not be intercepted, meaning you rolled your damage and that damage was able to be applied to that target. If these conditions are met, then your character cannot be attacked through an attack of opportunity from that target for the remaining duration of your character's turn. An example of how this would be used is as follows. Let's say your character attacks an orc that is within melee range of your character, and that attack hits and you did 4 points of damage. From this moment on, and until your turn ends, that orc cannot attack you with their reaction if you choose to move your character away from that target, including moving out of the reach of their weapons. Sadly, while an attacker can indicate to Fantasy Grounds Unity that they are making an attack of opportunity by holding down the shift key when they make that attack, there's no way to really set up an effect that would allow you to make your character immune to them unless you want to use an unrelated concept. And I'm not even going to show that on this particular video, but essentially you could theoretically use damage immunity to all damage so that the attack could still happen, you just happen to take no damage from it. There really isn't a point of that. So for now, just simply tell the DM that you're going to use Fancy Footwork, your attack connects, you do your damage, just remind the DM that from this point forward, if you choose to move your character out of that particular target's reach, they cannot do an attack of opportunity against your character for the remaining duration of the turn that you just made that attack in. Also at Rogue Level 3, your character will gain the Rakish Audacity feature, which allows you to make use of your character's Charisma modifier and add that to your character's initiative roll. And that might actually be pronounced Rakish Audacity, not Rakish Audacity, so I apologize for that. Additionally, your character no longer needs the advantage roll on sneak attack under the following conditions. Your character is within melee range of that particular target. Your character does not have disadvantage on the attack roll itself against that target. And no other creatures are within 5 feet of your character. Your character, however, still retains the means to use sneak attack as it normally functions. But the previously mentioned changes give your character a third way to be able to make use of this particular feature. Now, you can leave the rolls associated with sneak attack under the sneak attack feature itself. That way you only have that one place that you have to go through and make your adjustments to sneak attack as your character levels. But you could theoretically also add that to this particular feature when it's added to the action sheet, so that any sneak attack roll that you do would come from this feature as opposed to the normal sneak attack feature. But that is going to be entirely up to you, and we still have to add this to our action sheet anyway because we need to be able to actually track the use of our increase for our initiative. And I'm going to make sure that this is called Swashbuckler. There we go. Now I'm then going to go ahead and add a new effect here. And what this is going to do is it's going to be called Rakish or Rakish Audacity. It's going to affect our initiative by adding our Charisma modifier to that. It is going to be on yourself and it will expire on the next roll. Now, I'm going to go through and set this up so that we can see how this works. So right now within the combat scenario, nobody is yet to roll initiative. In order to actually roll initiative, you'll want to make sure that you add this effect to your character first. And you can see here that it's going to say init:2, and that's because this particular character has a +2 to their initiative modifier. Now what I can do is go ahead and roll initiative. And what we can see is we rolled a 15, but our total is a 20. We have a +3 bonus as part of our normal initiative bonus. That means that the +2 was added to this particular initiative roll. That puts us at our total of 20. When it comes to making use of sneak attack, however, that's going to function a little bit differently than you're usually used to, although it still will function the other ways. Let's say, for example, that our character happens to be within range of this vampire, and there is no other creature or other creature at all in reach of this particular character. And when it says that no other creature can be within 5 feet of it, it literally means anybody within the combat tracker. It can only be you and the target you're going to attack. Everyone else, including all other creatures in the combat tracker, have to be more than 5 feet away from your target. So let's say that our turn has now come around, and we're going to go ahead and attack this vampire. I'm going to go ahead and make my attack roll. Hopefully I hit. That would be a hit. Now I can actually take advantage of sneak attack, which right now is not set up for the appropriate level, but I can apply this to my character and make my overall damage roll against the vampire. Now it's going to resist it because this weapon is not magical. Apparently I've removed the resistance, so it took the full amount of damage. But anyway, generally the vampire has resistance to normal weapons. I must have removed it when I cleared out all the effects at some point in the past. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. But we can see here that we have 1d6, which was associated with our short sword. A second d6 got rolled, and that was associated with our sneak attack. Technically, because this particular character is level 3, that should be 2d6 as opposed to 1d6. I'm not going to worry about that because that's outside the scope of this particular video. But if at any point, let's say this ape had moved into 5 feet to this particular vampire, at that particular time, you would be able to use sneak attack because of the benefit of the ape being there. You would not be able to use it because of this feature here. If, as well, nobody else was near, but you had advantage on this vampire, regardless actually if anybody else was near or not, now that I think about it, you would also be able to use sneak attack, but again, it wouldn't be because of Rakish Audacity. It would just be because of the native capabilities of sneak attack. So all this does is it gives you a third way of being able to make use of sneak attack. At Rogue level 9, your character will acquire the Panache feature that gives your character a means to charm or otherwise affect a creature during combat, as well as in some social situations. While in combat, if your character uses an action to make use of this feature, they will be able to roll a persuasion check and have the target roll an insight check as a contest of wills, if you will. The creature must be able to understand the language your character is speaking in order for this to work, as well as be able to hear your character as you make the attempt. However, the outcome depends entirely on if the creature is hostile to you or not. If your character's roll is higher, meaning your character succeeded in the contest of wills, and the creature is hostile to your character, then that creature will suffer the following effects. They will be suffering disadvantage on any attack rolls made against a target other than your character, and the creature will also lose the ability to make any attacks of opportunity against other targets. These effects will last for a total of 60 seconds, or 10 rounds if you're in combat, or until one of the following conditions are met. A, the creature is attacked, and that means an attack roll is made against the creature, even if it missed, by anyone other than your own character. If a spell is going to affect the creature, and the spell is coming from another character other than your character, this will also drop the effect. And finally, if your character and the target have moved more than 60 feet from one another, this will also drop the effect. Now, if the creature is not hostile to your character, they will instead be charmed as opposed to having all of those other effects applied to them, and they will see your character as friendly. However, the effect can still be forcefully dropped if any of your companions or your own character attempts to harm that creature in any way, shape, or form. So let's go ahead and set this up on our character sheet. I'm going to drag this into place, copy Swashbuckler, which I apparently spelled incorrectly. There we go. Not only did I spell it incorrectly the first time, I spelled it incorrectly after my correction on the first time. All right, so we already have the charmed effect here, which means we don't have to worry about setting that up, but we should go through and set something up in relation to the disadvantage attack roll. So we want to go through and add a new effect here, and I'm going to call this Panache. grant disadvantage ATK. It's going to last for 1 minute, and it's going to be on targets, and it will not expire outside of this thing unless the effect itself has been canceled early. So how this is going to work in a combat situation is as follows. The first thing I'm going to do is make a persuasion check, which I've already rolled here, and I've rolled a 14. The vampire themselves is then going to make a wisdom check or an insight check. In this case, it's a wisdom check itself, and they're going to roll something lower. Excellent. That means that all of the effects that we just stated now apply. What this means is now I have to drag this particular effect to my ally, which is to grant disadvantage. The problem is we don't want this to, say, come into play when these apes or this Mind Flayer or the adult dragon are attacking. So what we then want to do is drag this particular target effect here onto that vampire. And that means that this vampire, and only this vampire, if they attack this ape, will have disadvantage on that attack roll. And I can show that by simply advancing the turn to the vampire. The vampire is going to target the ape, which, there we go. It is then going to attack. Come on, where's just a normal attack? There we go. And you'll see that 2 dice get rolled here. Well, 1 has a red color on it. That means it was a disadvantage roll. And we also see that there's a DIS indicator here. Again, that's just confirming that it was a disadvantage roll. That means that this is here and working. Now, if I advance the turn so that the ape attacks ape 1, they're going to roll the normal dice. And they're just going to have a normal attack and be able to hit that ape as they normally would. Now, it also means that if this ape is within 5 feet of the vampire, but they've suffered significant amounts of damage and want to run away from that vampire, they can do so and not suffer an attack of opportunity. The vampire can do nothing about it. Their sole focus is you, so they cannot react to anything else. But that's how that feature works in a combat situation. If this was more of a social situation, and you chose to try the charm effect, let's say this ape was another character that could understand your language, but they're not hostile to you, then you can attempt the exact same test of wills, if you will, and if they fail, they become charmed to you for 60 seconds, and all you have to do is apply the charmed effect to them. At Rogue level 13, your character will gain the Elegant Maneuver feature that allows your character to make use of a bonus action and gain advantage on their next acrobatics or athletics check made during that same turn. The advantage roll will apply to any of those checks made during that same turn, no matter what the requirement might be for the check that is being made. Because of that, this particular feature is relatively easy to set up. All we have to do is add it to the same group. To Swashbuckler, we should see, I'm going to get rid of the old group. We should see that Elegant Maneuver is here. We're going to add a new effect to it. And this effect is going to affect our own character. And it's going to expire on the next roll. It's called Elegant Maneuver, ADV skill, acrobatics and athletics, with a comma in between the two and no spaces. So how does this work? Well, let's say that we are in a particular part of combat, and for some reason the Dungeon Master is calling for an acrobatics check or even an athletics check. Well, what we do is we would say, okay, I'm going to make use of Elegant Maneuver and apply the effect to my character. Then I can go and actually make the acrobatics roll, and you'll see here that it rolls twice because it has the advantage roll. Or, and I'm going to reapply that to our character, go ahead and make the athletics roll. And as we can see here, we still have an advantage, even though it was still a low roll. And the effect goes away. Perfect, this is what we want. At Rogue level 17, your character will acquire their last feature from the subclass called Master Duelist, which grants your character a means to turn a miss into a hit, but with a limited use. If your character makes an attack and misses because of that attack, they can activate this feature to re-roll that attack with advantage, and use the new roll as the final result. However, once your character uses this feature, then they will need to complete a short or long rest to regain all spent uses. To set this up, we're only going to be able to really set it up to handle the advantage on the attack roll. And we need to simply make sure that we add a new effect. And when we do that, we go through and edit that. And all it is literally Master Duelist, semicolon, ADV, ADK, and it should be set up on your character and expire on the next roll. Let's go ahead and have this vampire be the target of our character, and I'm going to go ahead and make an attack roll. That's going to be a miss. Well, in this case, I can actually execute this feature, which I still have one thing to set up, and that's this. And go ahead and attack with advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that onto my character and then re-roll. This time I hit, and this time I can do damage. And that's all this feature requires. Now, a Swashbuckler is a very fun class to play, as it allows a character to add some flair into their attacks and combat tactics while giving the character quite a few benefits. With the ability to apply disadvantage or advantage flags on many of the attacks made by their targets or by themselves, they can easily turn a bad situation into a good one with the right result of a dice roll, and have fun while doing it. However, this does bring us to the end of this particular video. I hope you found it useful and informative, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.